Um, All right, so good afternoon, WTF families. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday afternoon. We want to go ahead and get started so we can respect and honor your time and busy schedules. So thank you for coming to session two, the importance of athletic development and why it's important for a tennis player, but more specifically, you're a tennis player here within our program. So our agenda for today, quick welcome and introductions. The USTA American Development Model, which will be presented by Dr. Carl Davies. And then our head of player development, Alex Scheck, will touch on our WTF athletic development model and how they work together. Then we'll take any questions or comments at the very end. All right, and just as a reminder, our dream team, the group of staff members here who are working on this family engagement series, we have Mr. Ronnie Goodall, who is our director of programs at West Campus and over our Arthur Ashe programming, Alex Scheck, who's our head of player development here at East, Jabari Cosby, our senior program manager here at East, Ms. Janelle Nichols, our director of programs here at East as well, and then myself, who serves as the coach and a reading specialist here at East Campus. All right, and then nonetheless, our guest speaker, Dr. Carl Davies, who is USTA Senior Manager of Research in Sports, Science, and Adult Learning. And so then, Alex, I will hand it over to you.
Yeah, no, thank you, Dr. Carl Davies. Just to touch a little bit about him, he is, the Senior Manager, Research, Sports Science, and Adult Learning for the USTA. He's been responsible for identifying training programs designed to increase youth and adult participation for the USTA's American Development Model. Before moving to the US, Carl served with the International Tennis Federation as a programming consultant, working with the National Tennis Federations and the National Olympic Committees in over 50 countries worldwide. He's been a presenter at ITF Coaches Workshops, ITF Level 3 certified coach. He's an ITF Level 3 certified coach, which is the absolute highest qualification. And he delivered tons of ITF coaching courses. That was a mouthful. Thank you very much for being with us, Dr. Carl Davies. It's a pleasure to have you, and we're looking forward to you sharing with us at WTEF kind of more in depth the American Development Model and how us at WTF can utilize this to help build our programming both for juniors and adults, and the pathway to success, hopefully.
Thank you very much, Alex and Marquise and the WTF team for having me. Good afternoon, parents, wherever you might be. Really privileged and honored to speak to you today, particularly on a passion of mine, I would say. So I could speak on this the whole day, so I'm trying to keep it to 10 minutes. It's going to be a tough ask, so I'll try my best. It's also quite tough following the dream team, so I'll try my best. If you could push it onto the next slide, Marquise. Yeah, so we're going to talk about the USTA's American Development Model. So this is the brand of the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee that points towards long-term athletic development principles in a nutshell. So how we can partner with the USOPC and all of the national governing bodies throughout the US in order to attract, engage, retain more diverse participants to tennis and keep them playing for a lifetime and nurture that lifelong love of tennis so that we have as many people as possible transitioning from a junior player perspective into an adult player and doing so from a long time, from a lifetime perspective. We love our tennis. It's a great lifetime sport. So we really want to nurture that great asset that we have. So the ADM provides a foundation for player development from the USTA perspective. Again, this means centering safety, health, and developmentally appropriateness in training and competition. You'll hear me say this a lot, developmentally appropriateness. So in a nutshell, that's seeing where your child is and trying to match up tennis in order for your child to have success from a competence and a confidence point of view. So as much as possible that they are serve, rally, and score the game of tennis. All the kids find it a whole bunch of fun where they're able to rally the ball, get the ball in the court. So using our red ball, orange ball, green ball, yellow ball, whatever the case might be, wherever they are in their tennis journey, and serving up those activities, those play opportunities that provide success and to nurture that competence and confidence so that we can protect them from any bad experiences because we don't want to lose them from the sport. So essentially pertinent to that is that how we are with the ADM is that we're trying to build this framework for individualized success and promote this developmentally appropriateness. Could you move to the next slide, please, Marquise? Thank you. So I've got a little bit of a visual here, as you can see, starting up in the top there, the USDA's American Development Model. Discover your fun, develop your skills, and play your way. Essentially, we also have our stakeholders from a USDA perspective, our two coaching organizations, PTR, PTA, Team USA, which represents our United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee. We have our ADM, and then we also have our youth brand, NetGen. So you can see here, I've got two tracks from a recreational point of view and a competitive point of view. We would love everybody to start off doing everything similar in terms of just trying to have, play as it is fun. So we just want everybody doing the same thing. Progressing through the different balls of red, orange, and green, having this developmentally appropriate play. And when they are ready going into competition, we would love to have them develop their fundamental motor skills through multi-sport play. And then also, free play as well. Explore basic movements. What can you do at home? What can you do with your child in order to develop this athletic development and keep them involved and develop those athletic skills? That's just going to help them from a tennis perspective. And also how they play other sports can transcend those athletic development, fundamental motor skills into that. And then as they graduate from from the red, orange, and green, and from an age perspective, they basically have two opportunities. Either they go more into the recreational stage, where it's more around develop for life, or they could develop and compete where they're trying to go a little bit maybe quicker or develop their skills. They want to go more for more higher performance or more performance around their tennis play. But most of all, we want them to make sure you see with those two arrows there that they can make their choices wherever it might be. They want to stay with recreational, or they want to go a little bit more on the performance. And then, as we were mentioning earlier, is that how do we then graduate them in from a junior perspective into adulthood and still playing tennis, where they're playing as a recreational, they're playing maybe adult league or a tournament, or maybe they're becoming a volunteer, mentor, coach, or like ourselves, a coach, and just trying to keep them in the sport. Or they could be going on to the upper echelons of junior development and then into senior development, potentially going on to collegiate tennis or whatever the case might be. I think that's the most important thing that we would like to stress, is that it's really up to the child and with your support on which pathway they want to take. But making sure that at the end of the day, there is confidence and competence around it. And also character development in terms of the life skills that tennis really gives us from that perspective. So if you could move on to
What? Did something just bite me on my leg? Like, I don't like it.
If we could move on to the next slide. Marquise. Oh, there we go. So this is what was taken at this year's US Open. It's a kids zone, essentially, was at the back of court number 17 at Billie Jean King Tennis Center in Flushing Meadows in New York. And the US Open, I'm sure everyone is familiar with the US Open. It's our premier event every year. It's a Grand Slam, the last Grand Slam. And we are really showcasing how we are very serious from a national governing body perspective of having this multi-sport participation in order to develop these athletic development skills, fundamental motor skills, have that competence and confidence. You've heard me say that over and over again in order to promote this developmentally appropriate play and competition, and how we were having different sports and how with different sports they were going through. You have there ice hockey, we had soccer there, we had a little bit of golf, we had tennis, obviously, and a little bit of flag football. So very serious about a multi-sport participation. We also had one in 2019, and we had the privilege of Kobe Bryant joining us before he passed. Unfortunately, he did pass later that year in 2019, but we were very privileged to get him. And he was also ramming home the same situation of cross-developmental, cross-training, developing different skills, upper body, lower body, and that can really help us from a multi-sport perspective.
No, I love that, Carl. I grew up a multi-sport athlete. I played, I think my first sport was tennis, and then shortly thereafter soccer. And then I actually, went pretty serious with tennis up until about 12, 13 years old and picked up a basketball, ended up playing college basketball as well. So, multi-sport athletics is important to us. We have a lot of multi-sport families within our community. And I think, we want to encourage them to continue on that kind of multi-sport journey with their students. It really does help the student both physically, really mentally and emotionally. I think, being able to play both an individual sport and a team sport, like you touched on some of those life lessons.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit just before you wrap up? I know you have a short window here, but can you kind of touch a little bit more on, the Play for Life model and the importance of individualized and appropriate, developmentally appropriate, games and activities for students so that we can really kind of encourage confidence and competence?
Yeah, would glad to. Thanks for that question. Yeah, I think it's at the end of the day, we're in the era of customization, right? So we go to Chipotle and we're able to, get wherever it is, a burrito or a salad, according to what our needs are. And we are seeing this a lot with other sports as well. Is that how do we customize, tennis opportunities, the tennis journey, according to what the child wants? At the end of the day, the child, the player really has a good understanding of what they would like to achieve, and they all want to have fun. So we want to hear what they want to do in terms of, how do we get them into adulthood and still playing tennis? And so that we, at the end of the day, is that we got to try and make sure that we are serving up the tennis activities, the play opportunities, the competition, which serves the best practices for that child in order to have that competence and confidence and keep them playing for a lifetime. Because I don't think anybody on this call or anybody throughout the US would want, their child to have, really bad experiences, because we know that really bad experiences contribute to this lack of fun. And we know that fun is a huge determinant of whether kids stay in the sport. So essentially by developing these athletic development skills, having this developmentally appropriateness, we have this fun and athlete-centered approach where kids are having fun. They're playing tennis on their terms, and therefore hopefully getting that physical activity. We know that tennis is a great lifetime sport. We burn a lot of calories as well when we are playing tennis. And then how can we facilitate this as coaches, as organizers, as parents, and support the child to make sure that they are, from a lifestyle perspective, having their physical activity, having fun, engaging with other people, socialization, and playing tennis from an individual perspective. And to your point, Alex, as a team, in order to then have a great experience each time with tennis and keep on playing for a lifetime.
That's great. Well, thank you, Dr. Carl Davies. It's always a pleasure to be able to connect with you and talk with you. I'm sure we'll have some questions, and if I cannot answer those questions from families, I will reach out to you, and hopefully you can respond to them when you have some time. But I know you have
I would be glad to. Yeah, I would be glad to.
But thank you again. Hopefully we can do this again soon.
Yes. Thank you very much for the invite. Thanks for everyone being on the call and who listens to this webinar on reflection. So hopefully we've helped. And again, just yes, that's all we want to do from an ADM perspective, national governing body, how we can support parents to have great experiences, because we're all on the same page. We want them to play for a lifetime.
Thank you. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. All right. And Alex, before you jump into the pathway, I know Carl mentioned a lot about, multi-sport athletes, and you talked about, what does it mean to be multi-sport athlete from team to individual. We have a lot of students in our program who are multi-sport athletes. And so parents, if you don't mind, I'm going to launch a quick poll on your screen. And we're just interested in how many sports does your particular child play? Is it one? Is it just tennis? Are they playing two? Or are they playing three or more?
That's great. I've got two students, I got an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old, and they're already playing two sports, soccer and tennis. So let's see what the responses come back as. I think the average is going to be 2. That would make sense to me.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Let's share results.
Ooh.
Yeah. So
2 and 3 tied up.
So we got a couple of families who are playing 3 or more sports. So most children are playing 2 to 3 or more, which is really good.
As Dr. Carl Davies said, and as I mentioned before, I think that's very important to both, athletic development, social, emotional, mental, health and wellness, for our students. I remember actually making the pivot from going exclusively to tennis and competing at a high level to then taking on a team sport, and the strength and the I guess maybe the word is fellowship that I received and comfort that I received in a team environment, from my peers, from my teammates was so critical, because when you're out on the tennis court, you're obviously by yourself. You're making decisions, you're problem solving, you're thinking critically, and at the end of the day, a lot of the responsibility, there is a coach and your parents that are there to support you, but a lot of it is on you. Being able to play that team sport to complement the individual sport that I played was really important for my long-term success as a tennis coach or as a tennis player. As a play for life type person, because I honestly don't know that I would have continued this journey of tennis on this path to playing, to then giving back and coaching, and then making a career out of it, and spending my life essentially trying to create opportunities for kids to experience the game that I did, and learn the lessons that they did, or learn the lessons that I did as a kid. So I think, Marquise, you're a 2-sport athlete too, right?
Yeah. So I started off playing basketball. My whole family played basketball growing up. Played high school, and then ended up picking up tennis like late in middle school. And tennis is what I ended up sticking with. Played a little bit in college, and it's now brought me here in this capacity. So the ability to have different sports, I think helped me, because once I got to the tennis side of things, like you mentioned, basketball really had exposed me to teams and support and different things like that. So getting a little bit of both was definitely helpful.
Absolutely. So last parent webinar series, we started kind of introducing our WTEF player pathway that you guys can see pulled up on your screen now. This is a draft, and there's still a little bit of change that needs to be made, but by and large, I think this is pretty solid understanding of what we're trying to do, both at our East Campus and at West Campus as well. So as you can see, like Dr. Carl Davies mentioned, the goal is to have developmentally appropriate, individualized, customized, a standard approach to our athletes. Now, that doesn't mean that there isn't, an athlete that will start, at 3 to 4 at our youngest red ball age and just really accelerate through this pathway and potentially, go from a performance to high performance to collegiate sports. There are athletes that just kind of jump from one to the next very, quickly. But again, we're trying to create a standard approach for our athlete at WTEF. And that starts with our tots. If you've been around our East Campus, you'll see our little 2, 3, and 4-year-olds just entering the hallway and just learning, motor development skills, a lot of running, a lot of jumping, a lot of throwing, catching, a lot of just listening skills. We're teaching them about, their eyes, their ears, their mouth, their body language. Just, are you listening with your eyes? Are you listening with your ears? It's hard to listen when you're talking. So, we're teaching them these little skills that we hope that as they transition into your Red Ball 1, Red Ball 2, Red Ball 3, we then can kind of build off of the foundation that we've created, as they progress through and advance through the different stages of Red Ball. And again, just to kind of touch on what we spoke on in our last parent webinar series, our Red Ball is all done on, age appropriate and level appropriate sized courts with age appropriate and sized tennis balls. And those are your kind of red, bigger and less compressed air, or less air, is put inside these tennis balls. So the balls bounce lower, they bounce a little slower, so that our younger kids can really have that success and that confidence and that competence earlier on. From that red stage, our students will go into, Orange 1 or Orange 2. Again, to kind of talk about the court size is about 2/3 of the length of the court, which is the standard court. So the court is sized down for our 8 to 10-year-olds. They use an orange ball, which is, again, a less compressed ball that's going to bounce a little slower. It's about the same size as what you would call a yellow ball or your traditional kind of regular ball. And again, it's all about competence and confidence, getting our students to have a lot of confidence hitting the same style of stroke, at the different stages throughout the court, being able to, play with their partners and have that ability to rally and then score and play a match in a traditional form. All our kids want to play real tennis. Well, they're going to get to playing real tennis a little faster with, these developmental appropriate balls and sized courts. From there, we have 2 tracks, kind of just like the USTA had mentioned in Carl. We have the recreation track that goes from
for families who are on, I'm not sure if Alex also froze on your screen.
Yeah, he did.
Okay. Gotcha. Let's see, might be having a technical issue going on there. because we want to honor your time. We have a few minutes, so I'll quickly kind of move through what he was touching on as they get to this recreational versus competitive track, right? As we talk about athletic development, as we're moving kids now along the recreational path, we're still focused on, right, upper body strength. Now the more they're getting older, focused on more core strength. So their athletic development changes just a bit from that kind of just throwing and basic footwork, from how they're turning, how they set up their bodies, kind of using those fundamentals and foundations to do a little bit more with it. So here they're starting to do more like footwork ladder drills, a lot more shuffling, sprints, throwing for longer distances, right? And just kind of building on what they were doing in that red and orange ball court. And then, of course, once they get to that kind of high school level performance or collegiate sports, right, the athletic development goes up just a little bit more. We're talking about introducing more like weight training and resistance training for some of our older students who are preparing to play on that next level. And so that's equipment that we're actually looking to get here at WTF. So we can kind of, again, support the athletic development from red ball at those young stages and ages, orange and green in the middle. As Alex mentioned, they start competing now and putting some of those mechanics into play, to that yellow ball high school collegiate performance, where again, they're starting to take their training a little more seriously and dedicating more time to just the athletic development in and of itself.
Absolutely. Do you have any questions, Marquis? Sorry, I jumped off. I don't know what happened. It must have been.
No, you're good. You're good. But yes, families, yes, please, any questions, comments, or concerns, whether myself, Alex, or even for Dr. Davies, that we could always email him. He can get back to you.
We will send this out for you all to review and reflect on. If you do have any questions in the future, it's I think I recognize most of the names on this call. But if you do have any questions, you guys know where to reach me. You know where to see Marquis. We're always at East Campus. We're a quick phone call or email away as well. But again, thank you for your time. We want to respect everybody's time and make sure that, we stick to that 30-minute window that we said we would. But yeah, again, appreciate your time. If there is any questions, again, feel free to shoot us an email. And, we are a tennis family, and it's important for us to kind of all be a part of the success of your child's tennis and education at WTEF.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, families, for joining us. Our next session is December 14th, which will be a collegiate athlete panel. We're bringing in some college athletes and collegiate coaches to kind of touch on that piece of, once you get that play for life and that collegiate kind of competitive track, what does that look like? How do we prepare your students to get there? How do you support in that work? And what does that look like on that side? So you'll be getting a calendar invite from me shortly to that December session if you are registered for that. And yes, please enjoy the rest of your afternoon, enjoy your lunch, and we'll see you next month at our next session.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Thank you. Take care.
Have a nice one. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.